All right. Student trustee Hawk.
Present.
President Almendra.
Present.
Vice President Fernandez. Chief Staff Patino. Speaker of the House Joe. Treasurer Bosca. Graphic designer Donahue.
Present.
Web Administrator Suarez.
Present.
Chairperson Thumu.
Present.
Chairperson Chidari. Chairperson Mortaza. Chairperson Alvarez.
Present.
Chairperson Celestino.
Present.
Representative Yusuf. Representative Omar.
Present.
Representative Beltran. Representative Mata.
Present.
Representative Ahmed. Abna Ahmed.
Present.
Representative Cruz. Representative Perdrew.
Present.
Representative Castle.
Here.
Representative Karpinski.
Here.
Representative Haybelli. Representative Sharma.
Present.
Representative Ansari. Representative Giron.
Present.
Representative Erlbacher.
Present.
Representative Goman.
Present.
Representative Patel. Representative Cordoba.
Present.
Representative Dixit.
Present.
Representative Spencer. Representative Lila Spencer. Representative Bodila.
Present.
Representative Hannah. Representative Lopez. Representative Cabales.
Present.
Representative Deskuka. Representative Slaughter.
Present.
Representative Safar. Representative Saadi. Representative Khadir.
Present.
Representative Rodriguez. Representative Ali. Representative Shane.
Present.
Representative Flores. Representative Flynn.
Present.
Representative Preobrazhenskia.
Present.
Representative Yash Patel. Representative Alazman.
Present.
Next order of business is reading and approval of the minutes. Please take this time to read over the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, then the minutes will stand as approved. The next order of business is reading and approval of the agenda. Please take this time to read over the agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda? Yes, Representative Giron?
A motion to amend the agenda,
Yes, go ahead.
to include guest speaker after, formal to the agenda.
There's been a motion to add Officer Kendall as guest speaker to the agenda. Is there a second? I second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining? If not, then the motion carries. Are there any other corrections to the agenda? Yes.
I motion to add resolution 2023 S5 1007 to the agenda.
There's been a motion to add resolution 2023 S5 1007 to the agenda. Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining? If not, then the motion carries. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Yes, President.
Yeah, I'd like to amend to add, the USG statement on energy strategy to the agenda.
What would you like it amended as?
As a new business.
Could you please state the resolution code?
It's resolution 2023 S5, 4000.
There's been a motion to add resolution 2023 S5 4000 to the agenda. Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Is anyone abstaining? If not, then the motion carries. Are there any other changes to the agenda? I motion to table resolution 2023 S4 5004 and resolution 2023 S4 1005. Before we second and vote on this, I want to provide some context for this motion. So these are the rep points resolutions that were introduced last week. And after last week, I realized that it wasn't fair for me to ask you guys to vote on something regarding the rep point system without me having explained fully how it works, or allow time for you guys to express your thoughts on the system as a whole. So, I apologize for that, and we'll be doing that this meeting during the items for discussion. Just to provide some context for this motion. With that being said, is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, then the motion carries. Are there any other changes to the agenda? If not, then the agenda will stand as approved. The next order of business is public comments. Is there any public comments? If not, we'll move on to the next order of business, which is guest speakers. Our first guest speaker is Ronnie Lee from the Gender and Sexuality Center. Ronnie, would you please present this for us?
Hi, Ronnie. We're just setting up the Zoom on the big screen.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. And go ahead whenever you want.
perfect. Thank you for having me. My name is Ronnie. I'm a fourth year ideas major. I'm also the engagement coordinator for the Gender and Sexuality Center. We have been pushing this initiative to get Chick-fil-A off campus. I'm not sure how much you've delved into it, but we have spoken with the Chancellor's Committee for LGBTQ Persons and Concerns, and they are both on board and helping us to kind of push this forward. We've been in communication with a bunch of different groups to both get student support as well as find the board that is making these changes and kind of get them to address these concerns head on. We did speak at the town hall and ask questions to that board if you were in attendance, and he had a bunch of suggestions, but I guess I am here to kind of ask student government what we think we should do next. What kind of student voices can we hear, and how do we get some movement to be made? I think that we're looking to do a little bit of tabling and put a portfolio together to be presented to the board that makes this decision. That'll be happening over the summer, but I would love to know kind of where your thoughts are at. What are you able to do to kind of help this move forward and things like that?
Thank you. I will now open the floor up for questions and comments. Would anyone like to speak about this matter? Yes, Felix? Can someone hand him the mic? Sorry.
Okay, so for those who weren't there at the diversity and inclusion town hall meeting, we were able to speak with many different administrators essentially about this topic. So currently they had proposed students do some sort of tabling to educate the student body on why having Chick-fil-A on campus is harmful to the LGBT community and the impacts of that for those who don't identify within the LGBTQ plus community. There's some sides to that, whereas why should those who are marginalized actively have to advocate for themselves in a sense where we're telling the administrators that Chick-fil-A is not wanted because of their anti-gay practices. So why should we have to continue that fight if we all already know that Chick-fil-A is homophobic? So with that, administrators want to see more student engagement, more traction on this. Because essentially, if we don't say anything or do anything, this is going to continue for many years to come, having Chick-fil-A as a vendor. So they have changed, the university has changed their stand from asking Chick-fil-A to come back in the contract for sure, to they are willing to hear arguments on both sides on whether or not Chick-fil-A should stay or go. So it's up to us as student leaders to make sure that the voice of the marginalized isn't silenced any further and that action is taken.
Thank you, Felix. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Brina.
Hello? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Hi, my name is Brina and I'm a first year student here. I am a student of color and I also am part of the LGBTQ plus community. And I think a lot of students here often have an intersectionality between having different backgrounds, whether it be first generation students or students who are immigrants, and just have a lot of different intersectionalities with regarding gender and sexuality. And as of right now, there are a lot of resources available on campus, like the Gender Sexuality Center, the Wellness Center, and support groups for students that belong to different cultures. But I would like to see just a bit more support that is personalized to those students with those intersectional identities. And I was wondering if there's anything that was currently being done. Just a genuine question, just because I'm, like I said, a first year student and I'm not totally sure of all the resources on some campus. So I guess it's kind of like a comment and a question all in one. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I can answer that a little bit. So this is layered because the Gender and Sexuality Center has been going under a few different changes over the past few years. We just had to get a new director who just started at the beginning of this month. And so that kind of change of power delays some of these actions. So if you haven't seen them over the past year or year and a half, that's probably why. We do have a lot of events going on right now. Feel free to check them out on our website or our Instagram, UICGSC. We also have a listserv, so if you're looking to sign up for that, feel free to email me. Also, in the next couple of months, we're conducting a large-scale research survey called Brick by Brick to kind of get some of these answers, especially these intersections, and get to know more about them, so we can present them to the university to garner, more funding or very specific, like policy changes around supporting these students, whether it's scholarship funds, whether it's all of these different things. And so that's in the works, but we want to hear from you all, so feel free, please take that survey when it comes around to you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, President Matthew.
Thank you. So, discussed the barriers there may be to move Chick-fil-A from campus. These are the barriers. One, I think the university has invested millions of dollars into the infrastructure for the Chick-fil-A kitchen. So Charles felt that that's a lot of money to overcome to rebuild that space. The second barrier that was kind of argued both in the town and our individual meeting was that Chick-fil-A is currently the highest revenue making restaurant at UIC. And the third barrier is that restaurants don't want to put a location on campus. This is because business on campus is only around like 6 to 8 months of the year. The rest of the year months they can expect losses in the business. And so I think these are the kind of barriers we need to look at and overcome and find a solution to these. One solution I have for one of them, which is restaurants are not looking to have a location here at UIC, especially in 230. I think maybe we can create an effort to maybe maybe either like send a letter from student government to these companies saying like, look, we want you here. We really like your food and we really appreciate that. You be here, but yeah, those are the type of things that Charles has brought up in our individual meeting and in town hall. Yeah, I'm open to furthering this discussion, how we can go.
Representative Slaughter?
So my question to that is, have there been efforts to look into the history of the revenue that different restaurants that have been at UIC, and what they made in the past, and possibly inviting any of those restaurants back?
Yeah,
Oh.
Sorry, I think Felix might be answering that a little better than I can, but what I will say is that as far as petitioning outside kind of entities to enter this, this is an open proposal right now. They have opened it up for people to submit proposals to take over that space. And so while, yes, I think inviting them directly, whether it's local businesses or things like that, to kind of step into that space, it's also, we're just asking them to pick something different. So I do think taking it as an outside, like speaking to outside entities could be valuable. I think as far as our capacity and time, it would be better directed towards the people who are actually making these decisions and why we want them to make a different one.
I agree. I'm just also trying to make sure that there is a feasible plan to give them, because I like, in dealing with talks with UIC admin, they tend to be very stubborn. And so I think that being able to like come up with a plan and say, hey, this like works numerically and economically and has worked in the past, that they'll be a lot more receptive to what students are saying.
Kind of follow up on that question. So I'm a part of the RFP committee that's overviewing campus design essentially. So currently we have not met since we have convened July of last year. And that meeting was essentially to discuss that the RFP, the request for proposal, it was drafted and it was published. So that now we won't meet until there are actual restaurants or companies who are bidding for space here. So whether that be a different provider altogether, because a lot of these restaurants come with the current company that we have. I forget the name. I think it's Chartwell, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of students have complaints about dining service period. So if we were to change over to a company, for example, like Sedexco, I believe that's how it's pronounced, they bring their own portfolio of vendors to that university alongside with their dining services in the dining hall. So apparently, as it was disclosed during the diversity and inclusion town hall meeting, there is a clause in the contract with Chick-fil-A that after a certain amount of months, if they leave, university is not allowed to put a chicken-based restaurant. So for a couple of months, that space would be empty, and either finding a temporary restaurant to be there, or just waiting it out until that's over. I don't know what the timeline is on that. It disclose any of that, but essentially, my perspective as a student who is in the LGBT community, this is the fault of the university, and they should be able to back up their mistakes. And it should not be the responsibility of the students to have to pay or come up with a plan for administrators who didn't do their due diligence.
Are there any other questions or comments at this time? Representative Flynn and then Nazra.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback off of especially what Matthew was saying. I also happened to meet with Charles after the town hall. I found that he was very partial to getting Chick-fil-A off of campus. Charles Farrell, again, is the director of something for the student center. I believe he's the director of Student Center East. I can't remember the exact title, but I found that he was extremely partial to getting Chick-fil-A off of campus. He did it at the university that he worked at previously. But he was also very frank about the budgetary constraints that he's under. You know, he can push Chick-fil-A off campus, but like realistically, it's something that he can't just do on his own. There's a lot of budgetary constraints, like Matthew was saying. There's state commons rebuild in the works in the near future. To remove Chick-fil-A from campus, he said would effectively raise student fees because Chick-fil-A makes so much money for campus that for them to be gone and for there to be no good replacement, it would be a huge budgetary loss for the student center. And one thing that I think we have to acknowledge when we act about this is that unfortunately people vote with their money and with their feet. And the truth is that a lot of people go to Chick-fil-A. I know one point that was raised in the town hall was that, you know, Chick-fil-A is obviously homophobic and it is tragic and, you know, concerning to say the least that so many people do go to Chick-fil-A, which is obviously a homophobic company on campus. On the other hand, it is the only chicken place. Contractually, it's the only place that can be a chicken place on campus, like Felix was saying. I think what we have to do is really change the minds of students on campus because people are already voting for Chick-fil-A to stay on campus. And it's not a matter of being, you know, right, which I think we are, that Chick-fil-A is a homophobic company that deserves to be taken off of campus. When it comes to millions of dollars, the university is not going to take that argument unless it has a reason to. One opportunity that I think that we have as a student organization, or maybe rather two, one is that there is a referendum that we can submit to the ballot by March 1st. If we'd like to get together, write a referendum, word the question very carefully to make it, you know, really ask campus and students what they think. If we can have that go, Charles Farrell said that he needs to have student evidence of how students really feel, and the only evidence that he has right now, besides the survey, is the millions of dollars of profit that Chick-fil-A makes. That's a real burden to overcome, but I think that's something that we could do that way. Another thing, he is a former student government president. At the university that he went to, he made his university commit to building a student center when he was leaving office, which they had not had before, and 10 years later, they created a student center because of a student government initiative. If student government has the ability to make something like this entire building, I think that if we really focus on an effort like this, that it's possible. And one recommendation that he made as a former student leader was to focus on discipline and continuity in our actions. This is a initiative that was brought up before. Former chairperson Daniela Guerrero brought this up a lot, was very adamant about not having Chick-fil-A on campus, not even having it in our office, which sometimes, a lot of the time it was anyway. Regardless, I think that if we adopt this initiative as a whole body and really commit to it the rest of the semester, I think we have a good chance of actually getting Chick-fil-A on campus. And I think if we don't have the discipline to really work on this together, it's going to be here for another 6 years. Thank you.
Representative Nazra?
I think Sam pretty much covered most of what I wanted to say, but I understand we're only having this as a solidified discussion now. But prior to this, where it has been going around, there has been a lot of comments made, and you know, I've reached out to my peers, people around me, both part of the LGBTQ committee and not part of the LGBTQ committee alike. And there has been a lot of mixed feelings about removing Chick-fil-A from campus because, like it's been said, it's the only chicken restaurant on campus, and a lot of students genuinely enjoy, you know, purchasing from that establishment. That being said, I just wanted to ask, has there been any discussion so far on possible options to replace Chick-fil-A that could bring in the same revenue that we have seen from Chick-fil-A over the years?
Yes, go ahead.
So from the preliminary talks that was disclosed during the diversity and inclusion town hall, it seems like restaurants initially Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers was not interested in UIC because of their business model, but they are currently reconsidering that. So potentially Cane's, but once again, that factor in the current contract, it would have to be sometime after Chick-fil-A was to leave. Some other restaurants that were in conversations was a small, or I don't know the size of it, but it was a suburban restaurant that flies chicken. I don't know the name of it. Another big vendor potentially would be Sonic. So a lot of the things are preliminary, and there are conversations actively happening on administrative level with these vendors, but until the RP committee convenes, there is no solidified which person is paying the bid.
In the interest of time, I will allow for 1 or 2 more comments. Is there anyone that would like to, okay, Brina and then Melody, and then I'll get you, Felix.
Do I have to, can I ask a different question regarding, like anything with gender and sexuality, like on campus, or does that have to be related to Chick-fil-A?
It can be anything in general.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, first of all, Ronnie, hi, I saw your cat, love your cat, by the way, I have a cat named Maisie, so I just wanted to say, if they wanna have a play date sometime, I'm so open to it. Second of all, my question is regarding, gender affirming care on campus. I know campus care, is a traditional HMO, if I'm not mistaken, I'm currently at campus care and sort of with my peers. And currently, on campus care, it doesn't really specify whether or not gender affirming treatments are covered, with the copay. So I just wanted to ask a clarifying question because I have a couple of people who are quite, a couple of friends who identify with, the trans community, and it's a question that they've been having for a while because, their peers at home are not very supportive of covering those treatments necessarily, and they wanted to know whether or not that was covered.
They are covered. I think as of the early 2010s, there was a real push to get those covered by campus care. So they are covered, and UI Health handles lots of different gender affirming care. So I don't know what specifically you're looking for, but there is also an LGBTQ UI Health page specifically that can refer you to different specialists that have that qualification underneath.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Representative Slaughter.
Okay. Hi, it's Melody again. So kind of responding to what Chairperson Felix stated, students really shouldn't, especially students from low resource backgrounds, really shouldn't have to hold admin accountable. But unfortunately, that's not only the way UIC works, it's the way our government works. And that's more of a systemic issue that like would not be counted in one day. And with that being said, most administrations themselves are pigeonholed in their positions. So they really do like having conversations with some that really do want to help. They're like, we need student input because we can't move. Like we can't do anything. So they really want student support. Furthermore, whatever decision is made, students, like I said, they need to be vocal about it. And it's kind of like what Representative Lynn said as well. We need to be vocal about it. And what I would say in terms of a proposal for alternatives that I don't know if it's been explored yet. So UIC is dedicated, or quote unquote dedicated towards community support and being really involved with community in general, right? So what if we propose some kind of initiative to talk to different local mom and pop restaurants around the Chicagoland area to see who would like an opportunity, like however many months out of the year, to come and maybe be a great way to advertise their business, especially on a college campus. So what if UIC made an initiative where we can start putting a list together of types of restaurants that kind of fall within those margins?
Thank you. Last but not least, Director Felix.
I think it would be a great idea, and I'd be happy to discuss that further, so I can bring them to the RP committee, but I just really wanted to quickly, show of hands, who here knows that Chick-fil-A has homophobic practices? All right, so just for division of house, that almost looks unanimous, so just for the record.
All right, with that, unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you so much for coming to speak with us. With that, we will move on to our next guest speaker. Representative Felix Guerin, would you please present them for us?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want to go in front for the presentation. This is the USC Police Department. They were sent by on behalf of Chief Booker to help answer any questions you guys have regards to the tragedy at Michigan State University. And they will have a brief presentation and some questions regarding any concerns you guys have for USC State in regards to this issue.
So I have it here. It should be hooked up. It should be hooked up to the sound, and I'm not sure which one.
Okay, thank you. It's that one right there.
And I'm just going to share it to the Zoom as well.
Sure.
Sorry. Just taking a sweet time. Sorry, guys. Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Officer Turner with the UIC Police Department. I work in the community policing office. It's called PACE Unit. A little bit about myself. I've been with the university 13 years. This is my alma mater. I graduated in 1992. Yes, I'm older than dirt. You can tell me that. I've been a police officer for 9 years, and I was in police telecommunications for 4 as a 911 dispatcher. So that's a little bit about me. Today we're going to talk about active assailants. Okay, active assailant presentation. It's a very hot topic right now. Obviously, we're all aware of what happened up in Michigan State. Our presentation is going to start with some simple stuff. Basically, we're going to talk about what we are and as a UIC Police Department, and then talk about safety on campus. University of Illinois Chicago Police Department. We possess all the powers of municipal police officers and county sheriffs. We enforce state statutes, local ordinances on and off campus. And we're basically 24-hour police department, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We are an extra layer of safety around campus. Our area of patrol is Adams Street to the north, 18th to the south, Canal to the east, Western to the west. And then we have a patrol area down around State and Jackson because we've taken over UIC Law School, which used to be John Marshall. These are StarTel emergency stations. I'm sure you've seen them all around campus. They're big blue bollards. You hit them, basically, they're all over the walkways. They're even in buildings. When you hit them, you will get one of our emergency dispatchers, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One of our 911 dispatchers will be able to answer your call and get you the police. What we do ask is you tell in very specific terms what you're seeing. What are you seeing? What do you see? Tell the dispatcher what you see. And then if you have to give a description of someone who's acting suspicious or you believe is committing some sort of crime, we ask that you give a description head to toe. Everything from the hat all the way down to the shoes. How did they escape? Did they escape on foot? Did they escape in a vehicle? These are just things to keep in mind. UIC Safe app. How many of you have the Safe app on your phones? Oh, I was going to see more hands than that. Come on, guys. All right, UIC Safe app. It's one-touch emergency call button, virtual friend walk, UIC police escorts. Look, we realize, especially on a night like tonight, everyone's going to be out late. You guys are going to be here, probably get together afterwards, discuss the meeting. All of a sudden, you know, it's 11:30 and you need to get to your car. And you're thinking, okay, it's a little dark out and there's no one around. With the Safe app, you can do a virtual walk. You can actually speak to a dispatcher, or you can program your friends in there. Like Felix can program any of his friends in, and he gets to be like, hey, I'm going to take a walk to my car located in lot 1. When I hit the button, it means I'm on my way. And when I hit the other button, it means I've arrived. And if you don't hit the button that you've arrived, we do send the police. I could tell an anecdotal story about how a professor didn't hit that she arrived at her car and we sent the brigade. I believe Sergeant Coates back there, who's our TTU trainer who's come to show me support tonight, might have been on that call years ago. And I ended up sending the police to the professor's house, and she was quite shocked when we showed up at the door, and she's like, oh, I just forgot to mark myself safe at the car. That's how serious we take this. So just keep in mind, it's a good app. We provide walking escorts. Many of you may have used them at one time or another. You can call us at that number on the screen, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You will either get a police officer or a student patrol who will walk you to your location or give you an eyeball escort. They can watch you walk from one location to the other. Our student patrols are easy to spot. They wear big red jackets. They say student patrol on them. All right, so now we're going to get into the main part of this. It's the active assailant response. We have a new video that we're going to show you. You guys want to take a minute to look at this? No, it's okay. All right, so the video is not working, but what we will give you is the gist of what is going on, and that is there we go. Evacuate, evade, and engage. You'll probably see this all over the campus. It is the university's way of saying the national standard, which is run, hide, and fight. Okay. These are the 3 tenets by which we will try and guarantee your safety on campus. Evacuate. If you can safely leave the building, evacuate. So this is run. So for example, if you're in one of the buildings and you hear what you believe to be gunshots, run. Don't worry about your cell phone. Don't worry about your bag. Don't worry about your laptop. All of that stuff, believe it or not, will be there when you get back. Run. And if you hear the shots coming from that direction, run that direction. Okay. This is probably going to be the biggest one. Everyone, the run is probably the best. Just get out, know your buildings. You know, most of you are on campus, know your buildings pretty well, especially if you live in the dorms. You have you know, stairways that take you down and out. So just make sure, try to run. Evacuate, distance yourself from the threat. If you hear gunfire, leave the location as soon as possible. If you're near it, stay low and continue moving. Make yourself a small moving target and focus on moving quickly away towards an exit. Evade. Okay, so Felix, I'm gonna be picking on you a lot tonight. So, what's your name?
Michelle.
Michelle. You and Michelle, you hear the shots. You say, hey, I think those are gunshots. We got to go. Michelle freezes. You're like, come on, we got to run. She ain't moving. What do you do?
Try my best to have her regain consciousness while trying to move the system.
You leave her. Yes, I know it's a hard one. I know it's a hard one, everyone. We never like to talk about this part, but if you're with someone and they may not be able to, let's say they're in a wheelchair. I mean, I'm not just talking about, oh my God, this person freezes. Maybe they're in a wheelchair, maybe they're incapable of running. The focus of this presentation is your life. So we do tell people, as much as we want to help our fellow person, if you're hearing it, run, okay? If you can't safely leave, now, Michelle, she didn't go, she has to evade, which is hide. So she's got to put herself into lockdown and barricade herself. So this is one way we do it. We do recommend, you know, if someone will grab a belt and they'll try wrapping the doors, you know, it does work. We had these for a while, but we found that you get a guy like Sergeant Coates back there who's got kick field goals for a living. These really don't work that well. They'll slow them down, door jams, but they won't stop them. What we do recommend, though, a more sophisticated device. These are door jammers also, but these are a little bit better if you want to pass these around. They're a couple bucks on Amazon. We do advise people who work on campus specifically, if you have an office, try and buy one of those, or just pull a belt. The belt at the top tends to try and it will slow people down. Barricade yourself. So you're seeing on the picture there, everyone's putting they're putting stuff up against the door. Anything you can move against the door. Also, if you're running looking for a room, try and find a room with no windows in it. We do recommend that, because active assailants will be looking in windows. Close the doors, turn off the lights. If you happen to have your cell phone with you, silence them. They hear a person who's trying to be an active assailant will hear everything, okay? Fire alarms, this is another one also. Felix, buddy, what's going on? You guys are barricading. You hear a fire alarm, what do you do? No, you hear the fire alarm. It's been pulled and you hear it. What do you do? That's your instinct, but what do? You don't move. You don't move. I want to say about 11 years ago, there were some kids down in maybe Mississippi. One of our retired officers had the whole story back to back. I'm mistelling it, but it was definitely down in the South. And I think he was a 12-year-old active shooter, wanted to get as many people out into the hallway as he could. And he pulled the fire alarm and everyone came rushing out into the hallway. So what we ask you to do is if you are in an actual active assailant situation, you hear that fire alarm, don't move. Don't move. Don't even leave your safe location. That's the safest thing you could do is just stay where you're at. And then sorry, go ahead.
All right, so I guess in this situation of an active assailant, fire alarm is called just to stay in the room. And I think that's a great idea. Now, what if it's actual fire? We can just do that.
Well, if it's an actual fire, two things to keep in mind. Police and fire are all on the way. I mean, by the time this situation is going out, especially on UIC campus, because we're going to be your first line of defense, we're going to be the first ones in. And the fire department is automatically on the way because what they start doing is sending fire trucks and ambulances. So even if it is real, just stay where you're at. Someone's getting to you soon, okay? Last but not least, questions for the end, by the way. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I see hands going up. I'll just wait till the end. If you can't evade, you can't evacuate, you're going to have to engage, which is fight. And it is a fight for your life. Hi, what's your name? With the pink.
Oh, Abby.
Hi, Abby. How are you? Can I see that?
Yeah. I know that's a weapon. Oh, I know.
Right. All right. What else we got? What's your name? Matthew.
I'll use this.
I'll use that, right? What do we think of that we are sitting around that can be a weapon if the assailant makes it into your space? Eyes.
Really?
Everything. Go for whatever you can. Also, just to clarify, we call this active assailant because not everyone carries a gun anymore. They could be coming in with a machete. They could be coming in with a bat. It's any kind of situation. But everyone, fight for your life. Never leave the barricaded room. If they find their way in, some may find it tempting to go look for the intruder. Oh, that's the other thing. Don't go looking for the trouble. Okay. Stay where you're at and hide. We reiterate that. And then the distract technique. So basically, you force the intruder to flinch or move to protect themselves. Interrupt their thought process, confuse and distort them. Draw attention away from aiming their weapon. Throw things, books, office supplies. Spray with the fire extinguisher. Make noise. If someone is holding a weapon and they're holding it straight at you and there's one person and people are coming from this direction, it distracts their point of focus. And that gives you the advantage as a group. But another thing I want to stress too, the group has to attack. The entire group. Everyone's got to go at them. Overpower the armed aggressor. Strength in numbers is your greatest advantage. Okay, I was ahead of it. Tackle or strike the attacker. Match force with force. Forces different decisions. It prevents or delays the attacker's actions. Use all the tools in the room. Do not stop until they are no longer a threat. Well, how do you know they're no longer a threat? They either stop moving or you've wrestled the weapon away from them. Now, I'm going to give you an example. This is a little bit that's not in here. The gun, you get the gun away from the person if it is a gun. You've kind of won the game. What do you do? You never pick the gun up.
Oh, you never hold.
Don't hold the gun because Sergeant Coates is coming in full gear with a rifle. and he's got his TAC team behind him and they're clearing rooms and they get to your room and they come in and what are they looking for? A person with a, yeah, exactly. So again, our great former officer Jackson, who's now retired with 32 years of all of his experience, used to say, step on it. The person who is the assailant is down, the entire group is on him. Step on it, okay? Step on the weapon. Now, if this person, now everything is fluid, okay? Everything is fluid. This person starts to overpower the 6 people sitting on him. Now you're thinking to yourself, he's overpowering them and I've got the gun under my foot. Pick it up, shoot. Okay. This person is not hesitating to shoot you. So in that situation, you know, everything is fluid, but we do not recommend you pick the gun up. Police response. Our priority is what, Sergeant Coates? Absolutely. Cease the threat. Okay, police response. Initial responding officers will not treat injured people or begin evacuations until the threat is neutralized. If we're running down the hallway and Michelle's waving me down, she goes, my friend over there has been shot. We're running past Michelle. We're going to Felix because he's in the room where we know the shooter is in there. Okay, we're on our way to end the threat in that room. You may need to explain this to people. Michelle's like, no, you've got to stop. My friend has been shot. We understand you're going to be upset, but we've got to neutralize the threat. Once the threat is neutralized, officers will begin treatment and evacuation. When we arrive, we ask that you remain calm and follow any officer's instructions. So if we're running in and Michelle's trying to talk to me and I'm telling you, go that way, go that way, go that way. Now we're on scene. Fire department's there. Officers are there. SWAT teams are there. Okay. Put down any items in your hands. I know we've said it a million times. I know you leave stuff. Sometimes we have cell phones in our hand. We're walking around and we're going, does anyone see my phone? I do it all the time. I'm old. So I'm just like, you know, I'm walking around. I'm like, where's my phone? There it is. Try and get your stuff out of your hand and raise your hands and keep them visible. Okay. Because what we're looking for is someone holding something. So if your hands are there, and then we ask that you don't scream or point because we are going straight to the assailant. This is our information. Naturally, I'm sure you all have our numbers. And please visit the website. So this is, I just want to say, this has become a hot presentation recently. Okay, it's we've been getting a lot of requests for this, and we do this with the Office of Preparedness, and they have given us permission to give this presentation, and we're glad to be a part of it. We do train in tactics. We do train in clearing rooms and clearing spaces with active shooters, and the reason I asked Sergeant Coates to come in and just sit and observe today, he's not a member of community policing, he's our watch commander, but he runs our tactics training. And the training that we get is valuable. You will not see Evaldi here on campus. We go in, and we're trained to go in. And we receive that training several times a year. We do roll call trainings. And I'm grateful to the university and to the sergeant for giving us that training because we're going to be your first line. We're going to be the ones responding. So if anyone has any questions, yes.
So at this current moment, do you know if like professors or staff are ones that have to get these kinds of trainings just with the kind of society that we live in?
So good question. Thank you very much for asking that. I appreciate it. Last year we were just rolling this out as, hey, we've got this extra presentation to give you. Word got around and now the vice chancellors and the chancellors have reached out to their departments and been like, all of your staff needs to have this by the end of the semester. So we are rolling this out nonstop now. Yes, to answer your question, basically, yes. Several departments are being told your staff needs to know this, your professors, anyone who works in the offices, they all need to know this.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
One is about, not
Oh my.
not like a active attack from like one person that happened recently, but about overall like your safety, because you say like find the offender. Are there any resources available for people that might not know how to like self-defend themselves?
Okay.
Or is it possible to implement some kind of training? Because I might look like a linebacker, but I actually can't really do much. So is there any training that I can undergo or like maybe implement at the school that will help people?
So one thing yes, good question. One thing I did forget to do before I walked in, which is my bad, is I actually brought my business cards and I was going to pass them around. So a little history, right before COVID hit, a couple of our police officers were teaching the female self-defense course. And yes, it's geared towards females, but it was a wonderful self-defense course, period, whether you're a male or a female. And it was sponsored by a group called AUSTA. They were a nonprofit agency. They dissolved during the pandemic. One of the officers who taught that class is now promoted, and she is working on getting the program rolling again. Her name is Sergeant Clark, and she recently sent out a bulletin among the departments to try and get officers to get back in so they can do the training again. So right now, no. I know there are private gyms that offer little self-defense classes. If you want to pay, you could do that. But I know our department is currently working on something to bring back the female self-defense class. I'm sorry, you had two questions though.
The second one, it was more about the active shooting at the school, where we're talking about not picking up the gun. It's just like a general question. If you were to pick up a gun because the attacker might not be like immobilized or like held, and you were to shoot them in the leg and then put down the gun, would you get charged with anything?
I mean, there are several witnesses in the room who are watching you neutralize a threat. I do not believe you would be charged with anything. Okay. No, and I agree. And just for the record, this person has killed, this is an active shooter situation. So this person has probably killed several people to get to you. Don't shoot him in the leg. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to add, in comparison to what you stated about the self-defense, there's a lot of student orgs that are working to implement these self-defense classes free for students. We're working with them in the Campus Safety Commission. Maybe we can work something on as well with the USG Police Department.
Thank you, Felix. I didn't know that. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I saw you.
On campus. So given like that there have been like special defense like training that have been done in the past, have they been implemented especially for people with disabilities with cultural competency in order to also like give them something to work with or any kinds of tips or tricks?
Well, they get the same training all across the board. And you know, the reality is in those situations, those obviously are people who would be limited in run. So their training and their focus when we do these presentations would more be geared around the how to properly hide and how to properly barricade. And don't be fooled, a person with disabilities can fight. Yeah, so that we do kind of focus on that too. Obviously, someone who's is unable to run, we're not going to focus spending a half hour trying to talk to them about run. We want to focus on what would be more specific for them. That is correct. So. Sure.
Hi, so my question is more geared towards kind of like a notification, and what I mean is like, so obviously like us as students, we're gonna know if something happens on campus, right? Because we have that notification system. But say there is a threat like off campus, but near proximity, so for example, like Greektown or you know, like Pilsen or something like that. What is the proximity of, you know, say like a threat that we will be notified?
So you're talking about the notification system. So this came up last semester. You know, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that. Our notification system is specific for campus-only events. So if it happens on campus, your phones are going to blow up. But like you said, what if it's happening at the Greyhound bus station, which is right over here? I don't have a good answer for that. You know, I know housing had come up with something. They were working on something last year about getting something specific to their department. So they were working on department specific type stuff. But, you know, there's ChicagoCrimeChasers.com. There's these websites and these TikTok. There's so much stuff out there that you get it. I mean, it's like 24-hour news feed. They're filming it while it's happening. So if you see it, say something. So if you happen to be a part of a student organization and you're just lit up with a live video of something going on at the Greyhound, send that to everybody and make everybody aware. It'll probably hit the news, you know, but no, I don't have a good answer for that. We're good with the campus stuff. As far as if it's happening here, we're going to know. You're going to know. So.
So I have more suggestion, there's like, kind of like a wedge, but you can put it on like a deadlock, like up the door, kind of wedge it in there. I know it looks better than those doors, obviously they're small.
So it's not, is it like one of these? Is it something like this?
No, those are on the floor.
These are on the floor, so you're talking about goes right in.
It goes right into like the deadlock and kind of like wedge it in there.
Perfect.
Cause those things, if someone can take it hard, they just slip.
Well, like I said, Jen, that he could get field goals this one, so you probably, yeah, so if you got anything like that, yeah, I mean, we just use these for like samples to show everyone, but that sounds amazing. And I'm assuming Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find a lot of this stuff online. Yeah, again, it's just the focus is safety. I want to get some of these business cards out to you guys. I'm gonna put them on the table. If you have any questions or concerns afterwards, it's always an open discussion, and our main concern is just making sure everyone knows that you have resources on campus. And if it happens here, just know we're gonna be there quickly. So I'll just pass this around if you wanna.
And we'll share the information via the
Yes,
chain as well.
absolutely. So, yes. You mean like these? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk to your professors, they've got money for that stuff. So they have in their classrooms, that's absolutely. And then, I typically don't bring it out because it's a cheesy prop. It's not really a prop, but someone in the room is going to have a belt. Wrap that sucker. This is the one that works. To me personally, this works the best. And they had that one slide where you wrap the top and you pull it. That no one's getting it. The door jam stuff is at the bottom, so you can always kind of kick that stuff in, but these work amazing. You think the university should? Well, your student government. No, I'm not being funny. Your student government petition for something like that. There's resources there. There's money available. Trust me. Yeah, if you guys, especially in light of the MSU thing, if you start bringing that up, I'll bet you see those things in classrooms overnight. So. Sure.
I was just thinking about it. A lot of people I know have fevers and pepper spray for if they get attacked, but and a lot of places around the campus, even the Union One Arena, they take them and don't give them back. Is there any way to influence places to let people have them?
So
it's very hard to keep it purchasing it.
Yeah. So I'll say this. The reason the Credit Union One Arena takes them is because they're university property. And in the state of Illinois, you are not allowed to have certain weapons on university property. And it's not just guns, it's guns, tasers, certain types of knives, pepper spray, things like that. They're called categories. Okay, so certain categories of weaponry you are not allowed to keep on campus. Credit Union One is owned by the campus. Same thing with UIC Hospital or the clinics. All of that is UIC property. So anytime you walk in, they do take it. Now, I'm not familiar with them not giving it back. If you're experiencing that, they are supposed to lock that stuff up and return it to you at a certain point now. If you know of someone who has gotten their property legitimately taken and they legitimately own it and it's been legitimately taken, they should have gotten it back. I'll just say that much. So. Everyone, thank you. I appreciate you making time. And like I said, my business cards are here. We're going to pass them around. If you have any questions or any concerns, please feel free. And I appreciate you allowing me into your space. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for speaking with us. Again, we will be sharing the UIC PD information after this meeting. So please grab a business card if you haven't already, but it will be made available. Oh, okay. Reset. With that was our last guest speaker. So we will now move on to the next order of business, which is old business. Our first resolution is resolution 2023 S4 3002. President Almendras, could you please read this for us?
Thank you. Whereas the undergraduate student government advocates for students, and whereas USG has funded many initiatives that have had a positive impact on the student body and their experience at USC, And whereas USG is dedicated to doing the work and services it's doing now, has done in previous academic years to increase transparency. And whereas the executive team has been working on a report for the state of student report that will highlight USG accomplishments for the past 2 years, provide historical context for students to read. Then let it be resolved that undergraduate students shall print physical copies of the USG state of student report to be distributed USG state of student dinner. Let it be further resolved that USG shall allocate a maximum of $300 to print around 15 physical copies of the USG state of student report. Let it be further resolved that any unspent funds shall be returned to the fund.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Reminder, we will be voting on this tonight.
Few comments, start the discussion. So, we did make the amendments to reduce the number of copies that will print out. I know there was concern about the amount of paper will be used to print it. So we're just going to print out 15 copies, have a few physical copies available during the event, but then have a QR code at every table that students can read it online, have it for the future. And then the rest of the copies will be sent to key departments that we work with just to highlight the things that we have done. And secondly, in terms of the report, we'll send a draft tonight for everyone to look over and provide their feedback. I want to thank everyone for their patience on this today. Huge report again, we're trying to encapsulate many of these that's occurred in the past few years. And so that will be sent tonight. So if you're really curious on what it looks like, then it will be sent tonight.
Are there any questions or comments? If not, we will move forward with voting. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023 S4/3002, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, then resolution 2023 S4/3002 is passed. Our next resolution is resolution 2023 S4/3003. Vice President Fernandez, could you please read this for us?
Whereas the library shuttle used to be a service offered to US students studying at UNCP's and West Campus libraries, and whereas the service was useful to students that the shuttle would operate during the 9 p.m. times when the night ride does not operate and supports those studying late at the library until it closes, and whereas the service was discontinued at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic but is not restarted, and whereas student safety is top priority of the undergraduate student government, walking home in the dark and jeopardize this mission, then let be resolved, the undergraduate student government urges administrative services to reinstate the service on USG's East and West campus, and let it be further resolved to change the promote student safety and better ensure students studying late at night do not find themselves in dangerous situations.
Thank you. I will now open the floor for discussion. Yes, Brina.
In the case that administration is adamant about implementing this change, which I don't see why they would be, but just in that case, will there be any follow-up or plans to follow up with that, again, if that is the case?
Yeah, we hope that this is kind of, I feel like the highest level we could bring to questions that are going out for administrative services. So I guess if he's like very adamant that he's saying no, which I don't think is okay. I think we'll just have to work with him and just maybe get some more student feedback and be apprehensive. And then we can, talk to, experts, maybe even, campus police about what they feel about the matter.
Yes, Mohammed.
Yeah, I couldn't concur with Michael, and from my own personal experiences in talking with Vice Chancellor Coronado, he's always open to student perspective, he's always open to what we have to say, and takes student government and their initiatives very seriously. So I don't personally believe that he's going to be necessarily adamant and setting up to it. It'll just be a question of how does this get enacted practically, and what sort of resources need to be allocated to make this a reality. And that's a conversation that can always happen over continuing dialogue with student government and auxiliary services.
Yes, Juana.
Okay, so as for like implementing it, like effectively, I feel like it would be better to like expand it, expand the, what call it, the night ride. The night ride to night when in the library. I feel like that would be even more effective than create a new library show. You know, I feel like that would be a lot more effective and like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember the conversation sort of turned about this topic last time, and I'm not sure what everyone felt, but some opinions were that like independent service might be better, like hypothetically, if night ride does get backed up, this service would ensure like there's a central pickup location for students on campus, while night ride can take students from like anywhere in the area, I guess. So keeping them separate would ensure that at least the students, like that huge group of students that leave the library at 9 p.m. that would get, you know, some ride home. But we are looking into expanding the night ride hours to 9 p.m. I think doing both would be the best solution because of how many students want to utilize.
Sadie, Nazar, and Jair, and then I got you.
I think instead of having a different shuttle, we should just add to that, right, like add hours, adding more part. My roommate, she was actually doing a night ride from West Campus, so she comes back at around 11:30, and there's been a lot of nights where, she said that she's around 11:30 and we don't know how 12 past 12. And that is why I've been talking to her and complaining that there's not enough drivers, or that there's a lot of students, and like, because there's not a lot of drivers, they can't get out there and help students. Instead of having a whole different shuttle, maybe we should work on what night ride is already and add more like onto the app or onto the paper, or have like centralized locations with night ride.
Yeah, I would say through your like your response, I would agree that the night ride does come late sometimes. So I feel like that is the argument for an independent shuttle because the central location would pick them up, and then they wouldn't be dealing with like any wait times because night ride can pick up a single person from a house and bring them to another house as long as in radius. This would be dealing with like 15 students at a time. In terms of ordering night rides, it's by like who orders it first. So there could be a huge pocket of students like waiting at the library, assuming like 5 students order independent night rides, like right when it opens at yeah.
Nazar?
I know a lot of people have been bringing up like how you should extend that right, and I really agree with that. My question is, has there been any feedback from students or research you've done regarding how an independent service would benefit them as opposed to, as opposed to improving the current night ride services? And I do have a second question, which is a lot of the times the library it closes at 6 p.m. or earlier. So how would the library shuttle come into play then?
Yeah, I'll just say the first part of it, and then Matthew wants to add something. This was going on for at least a decade. When we talked to Mr. Wolderick from Transportation Services, he talked about how like, this was utilized for 10 years before COVID-19 happened. As an independent contract, and he said it was like really useful, so we're taking his word for it through that like 10 years of experience of like overseeing the independent contract, like work with the library and night ride. And then
Yeah, so on the topic of night ride, we have some very exciting progress that's been made. I was gonna allow people from the commission to talk about this, but there has been progress in increasing the night ride hours. Started, I believe, at 9 p.m. So I think I'll be extremely a great change that'll come, but hopefully very soon. And in addition, your representative Cordova and I met with the library this morning, and everything's slowly coming back to normal. I think they're going to return to normal hours, extended hours, I think. I deal with the current library hours, but I know it's gonna go way past the 7 or 8 or 9 PM closing time usually has. So, I think this would be a great compliment to once the library is fully utilized to its fullest capacity. Students will definitely be taking advantage of the late hours that the library offers.
Sorry, Director Dreyer, and then I'll come back to you.
I think we're doing a few arguments here, and that's that, one of my Representative Nava mentioned, the library does close earlier sometimes. So even though yours website at 9 PM, but I've experienced the website, the library closes even earlier. So if student is supposed to wait until 9 PM until the library arrives, that could be a little concerning. So I guess that's when night ride comes into place. I think if we're investing more resources into another transportation system, I think that's just going to disrupt the current process of night ride when other students utilize it. So if students are already lacking resources and their accommodations when it comes to night ride, I don't think another public transportation system at USC will do any better. So I think if you are to invest resources into something, I think it should be into night ride. Night ride has, I understand, there's a lot more things around campus. Like I said, if we're going to invest resources into more public transportation buses, gasoline, operating members, I think it should be pumped into what we already have now, compared to, like we mentioned last week, ingesting the system. So it sounds like a nice idea 10 years ago, but the current thing is right now is that night ride is in it now, and it's not doing its best. I know we had the member from speak to us about night ride last year around this time as well, when we were in the ARC, and he was telling us about these problems as well. I think going back to what he said is we should really give our student voices and opinions into improving night ride, because that impacts everybody on campus. And like I said, if we just have one thing focusing on the library, it might not be as consistent. So I think if we're to urge something, I think it should be into improving night ride, where even like Representative Jesse mentioned last week, as he sees as an RA, it really needs improvement. So I think we should focus our attention on night ride before we start adding on these.
Would you like to respond?
If I'm not wrong, I feel like last week people were talking about how because of the night ride sometimes comes late, that's the argument for independent service. I thought that was an argument last time. If I'm not, is that the correct argument you were making?
Yeah, my argument during that is basically how it has a very bad reputation, just kind of as it is. So even if you improve on it, there's still going to be a disconnect of people saying, okay, well, I guess I'll take your word. It's very hard to market something when it already has a bad reputation. Such as that.
And this wasn't utilized 10 years ago. It was utilized like 2020. It was only discontinued in the pandemic.
Mauricio?
Yeah, so I think that if we push for studying night ride hours, we should probably try and not just set it at the building's closing time, but at least 30 minutes before, and that way we can kind of avoid the rush that would happen when the building closes, especially because, for example, if night ride starts at 9, right, and the library closes at 9, then people are going to start ordering there, and not only are they going to be outside waiting, they don't know when the night ride's going to arrive.
Felix? See?
I just kind of want clarification on exactly what does it mean by independent? Does that mean that it's a full separate provider, which means a whole separate user interface? Or like, what is, in this context, what does it mean by independent?
Yeah, it would be independent of night ride. So it was called the USG library shuttle in the past. So it wouldn't use the same interface as night ride. I'm not sure if we would even, like, there would be no calls because it just keeps on coming. Like it takes the batch of students, brings them home, and then it comes back as soon as it's done.
What I mean by interface is like the UIC shuttle buses, they use the interface to track where the shuttle bus is going for like intra-campus transportation. So like, would it use that type of service or would it just be?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to follow up on that. That's a good question. And just on a previous point about when it would start operating, like that's totally flexible. This isn't more like an argument for the independent shuttle bus in general. Like I totally, like advocate for whatever starting time makes sense. It's just the idea of the independent shuttle, that has previously existed being reinstated.
Modesty?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I'm a frequent user of the library until it closes. And last semester it was 6 p.m. So I kind of understand like the mistake with timing. But this semester it's been closing at 9 p.m. and that's just the consistent timing it's had Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. And so it does get dark through the winter and the summer at 9 p.m. And so it can get kind of dangerous. If you're outside in the dark, with the cold, at 9 p.m. And so that's why I do support there being a shuttle when the library closes, because there's a lot of students there, when the library closes. So if there's a shuttle that's able to take a large volume of students who would otherwise have to call individual night rides, if they could all just go in one shuttle, I think that would not only just the students would be safer in a group, waiting outside the library for that shuttle, but also it would not allow that sort of large volume of traffic to be directed towards night rides and more so an individualized service. Whereas this shuttle could take like 30 students that are waiting outside the library at 9 p.m. They're all there, they're all waiting for the service, and I think it'd be a best if that's where they address that sort of issue or that problem.
Abigail, did you have something?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and Mauricio also like it coming with enough time that there's not a big rush. I think also we have to realize that this resolution is talking about 9 p.m. because that's when the library has been consistently closing, just as of recent. But I think it's also important to remember that a shuttle service can be amended for the time when this is a dedicated library shuttle. So if the library closes at 6 p.m., I think that the library shuttle service would understand that then its time is at 6 p.m. So I don't think that this resolution is saying it would be 9 p.m. no matter the circumstance.
Felix, you're on.
Awesome. Yeah, so just for a little clarification, we are still working on night in the minimum resolution. They're both working at the same time. In regards to which one passes first, the plan is to put them together. This idea of having library shuttle can be independent of night ride because night ride is used for different purposes. Greek Life is a big user of night ride, so when it comes to the introduction of being able to tell them that we need to start to improve, we can bring back resources for students to feel safer. The point is to improve safety. In regards of being able to improve night ride, Mauricio has a very good point. I also think that is a good idea because even Rockwell there was very persistent with the fact that students tend to have a hard time finding a driver at 11 p.m. because that's their highest number of students asking for a ride. So even bumping it higher would be better. Maybe being able to collect information on what students think would be the best time can be a great benefit when it comes to pushing the resolution. But just to clarify that these two things are still working together. Independent is still being pushed at the same time. So night ride being improved at the same time. Library shuttle.
Nasra?
Felix, I think that's okay. Felix, I think that's a great point, and I don't know. I think I have a very different take on this, and I'm not sure if anyone else echoes with me. But given the fact that some of us have already brought up how the night ride has been ineffective in meeting our schedules, how can we be entirely sure that this library shuttle is going to do so? I'm not sure if the feedback from our contractors of 10 years would be entirely reflective of the student experience. So I would probably suggest doing some research on what students have to say about the current service being offered and how it's going to be improved for them.
Yeah, that wasn't our contractor that said that. That was Mr. Wolterick, like a person who oversees transportation services at USC. So like he's got the most experience with like student needs in transportation because he like drives the students home using the night ride. Like he actually drives the vans with like his coworkers and everything. And that was a suggestion that he sort of gave to us about how this library shuttle used to exist and now it doesn't. Now he doesn't. I mean, he didn't straight up say, he disagreed that it's not continue anymore, but he said it was a benefit to students in the past. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, totally. The reason why, I believe this is a good idea is the fact that, when it comes to being able to prove this argument, is the fact that we're able to have this shuttle for a long time and it just got put out during COVID. So being able to present this was something that used to work, and now bringing something forward that we want to work is a good way to introduce this and being able to have this conversation with our chancellor. Because in being able to present this argument of the fact that we want to improve hours, improve writers, obviously there's gonna be a lot of problems when it comes to being able to schedule this and have a good idea on how to best adhere to the interest of the students. So our job as a commission, being able to push this idea of night writing and being a good use for students, we can help alleviate some of this with, like, let's say, the average show. Because at the end of the day, our priority is to make sure that these students get to the staying safe, especially when it's at night. They can come into danger.
Melody?
If more resources, or if the body decided to invest more resources into a system that, like a lot of folks have already mentioned, has, we're gonna have some inconsistencies in the past. What plan would there be to hold such a system accountable with the resources, additional resources that we pour into it? And then in addition to, I would say, I guess in favor, for the independent service, economically speaking, competition can spur, or bring about better improved quality of both services. So knowing that they have any kind of competition going on might actually help incentivize, efficiency for both services.
That's a great point, and I think that's like the whole point of why we're pushing IRA right now, because I think the biggest problem is the fact that they tend to say, I don't know if it's true, but they tend to say that there's no working students, the fact that IRA is terrible service. So I sat on the conversation out there with Veronica, and like, they were just, and Rocco was just saying the fact that he hasn't heard from students that this service was not being used to its full potential. So in regards to being able to hold them accountable, that's what we need to do moving forward, And that's the whole point of being able to have these meetings, is the fact to sit down with him and tell him what really are the problems, because according to his account, there are no problems, us bringing this forward is actually a new thing for him, and he's actually grateful for it, but in regards to like what's true, I don't know, and that's why it's our job, and even like the commission, to push it forward and keep having these conversations, to hold them accountable, make sure these services are being used to their full potential.
Yes, Felix.
I would just like to remind everyone, last school year, during one of our general body meetings, I invited the same person who's in charge of the transportation department to come speak about Night Ride and the concerns that students were having, and he gave us the exact same pitch. So I'd ask, when you're in a meeting with this person next, really press the transportation department to come up with a new excuse, because there's consistently and persistently issues. Like, I'm currently writing up a complaint that I have with Night Ride services from February 18th, So for all students who have any complaint about the Night Ride services, email rides@usc.edu and tell your friends to as well. I know it takes time to kind of write down what happened. For example, if they cancel your night ride and they didn't even show up, or if the night ride on the side of the road ignores you and won't let you in. Part of the Night Ride services, they're required to let you on the bus at their space, even if you didn't book a night ride. So you can wave them down in the taxi services, but as many people know, they'll just speed right past you and they won't care. So in those instances, there needs to be communication and students need to do their own due diligence. But I just wanted to say that, but it seems like the conversation is getting away from this resolution. So I think it's a great conversation that we should have. But it seems like this resolution is something to happen with it. We're kind of going around in circles at this point.
Are there any last comments or questions before we move on to voting?
One last question.
Okay, Melody, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate my question, because no solid plan was given. What kinds of rules for accountability would we be holding in terms of making sure that if we invest in Night Ride, it runs efficiently?
So the plan on how to move forward is literally brand new. It's unfortunate that Veronica's not here because she's the lead in the initiative. and, she will be able to give you a better concept of what we're gonna do. She's still in the work of being able to bring up this conversation, so in the works of being able to bring it up, ask it, and find a way to hold it accountable, it's still in conversation. So I don't have a specific answer on how to hold it accountable, but I'm open to any suggestions or having conversations with the future. Otherwise.
All right, with that, I'm sorry, we have to move on to voting. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023 S4 3003, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Okay, at this time, I'm going to call for a division of the House. So when I ask for your stances, please raise your hands. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Higher. 1, 2. All opposed, please raise your hands. Does anyone abstain? Sorry, all those opposed, please raise your hands again. High. All who abstain, please raise your hands high. With that, the ayes have it, and resolution 2023 S4 3003 is passed. The next resolution we will be discussing is resolution 2023 S4 1004. Representative Goman, could you please read this for us? Can you pass me the mic?
Whereas the undergraduate student government seeks to host events to screen and bring the undergraduate student community together. And whereas USG seeks to engage with student organizations and establish a connection with different colleges and their respective students. And whereas there's a strong need for community strengthening events and opportunities for students to network with one another, then let it be resolved that USG will host an event titled Future Business Mind, Professional Development and Networking Event to evolve around 20 different business student organizations and a variety of panelists with different business experiences. Let it further be resolved the USG shall allocate $600 to reserve the Illinois room in the last week of March or the first week of April. Let it be further resolved that all unspent funds shall be returned to the budget before the end of the spring 2023 semester.
All right, I will now open the floor for discussion. Are there any questions or comments regarding resolution 2023 S4 1004? Yes, Nazra?
This event is open to all students.
Reminder, we will be voting on this tonight. Sophia?
So is this more of a social event, just to like connect business, not just business students, but business student organizations and USC? Or what is, I guess what I'm asking is like, what does the event is, what is it going to do?
Basically, the event will be a mix of two aspects. For one, we're going to have a lot of different organizations that any student can basically meet and greet people that are part of that organization. Kind of like basically tables you see in the involvement fair, but way more concentrated. And the second half would be panelists. Sorry, the first half will be us hearing from panelists, people that are actually in the industry, USC alumni, and just them talking about their experiences, and also having a discussion where anybody can ask any questions, get a better understanding of the respective industries. Then the second half would be getting their organizations and networking.
Melody?
For clarification, it's a networking event for one half, or are they recruiting?
They aren't doing any actively recruiting. Obviously, like you can talk to alumni there and get connections for there, but the alumni there are simply just there to give information about their industries. They just really in a way like there, but also having an aspect of having different organizations.
Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Gwen.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Jesse said. You pretty much covered it, but just to clear things up. We're going to have analysts, preferably USC alumni, to come in and speak to our students. The event is open to all USC students as USG's policy states. And the second half of this event is going to be geared more towards connecting the students, bringing them together, networking. So, USG's philosophy is to bring students together, to try to get as many students together with like-minded interests. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So obviously, anyone who is interested can attend, but it is a professional development and networking event as an name.
Are there any final questions or comments? Yes, Manasi.
So the resolution states to involve 20 different business and organizations. So have you guys already reached out to those organizations and confirmed their attendance, or are you planning to reach?
I can answer this question. So right now we're in the planning stages of this. The first and foremost thing that we need to do is get this room reservation, because we can't tell anyone any specific date or time. But we can't tell people to attend an event that we don't have the date for. So right now we are passing the resolution, get date time. But following that, I'm sorry, what's the second half of your question?
Just if you've reached out.
Yeah. So we have access to a list with around 30 different business organizations, presidents, their emails, and their advisors. And we're planning on reaching out to them. But we also are collaborating with the Business Student Advisory Board informally, but they have access to every single business student organization, and they're pretty much going to be doing most of the outreach. But yeah, thank you for asking. Sorry about the clarification.
Are there any final questions or comments before we move on to voting? If not, we will move on to voting. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023 S4 1004, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, then resolution 2023 S4 1004 has passed. The next resolution for discussion is resolution 2023 S4 1006, and I will move forward with reading this. Okay. Whereas the undergraduate student government and the Mental Health Commission are dedicated to supporting student mental health and informing students of mental health resources and support options on campus. And whereas with the rigorous pace of the spring semester, students may find themselves being increasingly overwhelmed and stressed by exams and coursework. And whereas the undergraduate student government seeks to promote a campus culture that prioritizes and addresses the mental health needs of UIC students, then let it be resolved that the undergraduate student government shall allocate a maximum of $1,000 for the purchase of the following items, which will then be assembled into care packages and distributed via tabling in the Student Center East building. The items are listed below. Let it be further resolved that USG and MHC shall work with the UIC Counseling Center to compile a list of mental health resources at UIC, including but not limited to access to mental health professionals, support groups, organizations, and online resources to be printed and included in the care packages. Let it be further resolved that any unspent funds shall be returned to the USG budget. With that, I will open the floor for discussion. We will be voting on this tonight. Are there any questions or comments regarding this resolution? If not, we will move forward with voting. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023 S4 1006, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, then resolution 2023 S4 1006 is passed. We will now move on to our next order of business, which is new business. First, we have resolution 2023 S5 1007. Director Felix, would you please read this for us?
I motion to table the resolution.
Okay, there has been a motion to table resolution 2023 S5 1007. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. Just leave it there. All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, then the motion carries and the resolution has been tabled. Next, we have resolution 2023 S5 4000 in new business. It should be in the meeting packet. Correct? President Matthew? Is it,
It's S5 2000.
S5 2000, okay, did you send it as a reply to the pack, or to the chain email?
Apologize, and when I replied to just one person.
Oh, no.
The rookie mistake here.
We will wait on that.
Yeah, but I did send the resolution, link to it earlier this morning, but, here's the resolution itself. So whereas on February 13, 2023, a shooting occurred at Michigan State University, in which 3 students lost their lives, 5 were injured. And whereas this devastating event has caused grief and pain to the MSU community, and whereas the undergraduate student government would like to share its support for the MSU community during this time of grief and pain, the let it be resolved that the undergraduate student government of the University of Chicago provides full support for the MSU community. Let it be further resolved that the USC undergraduate student government shall send the attached letter to the MSU undergraduate student government. Let it be further resolved that a copy of the attached letter shall be sent to the campus safety department. Let it be further resolved that the undergraduate student government calls for campus safety to be top.
Thank you. I will now open the floor for questions. Are there any questions or comments? Sabrina?
Would it be possible if, to consider sending, the letter to, not just campus safety, groups on campus, but also, like a majority of the groups, if not all groups on campus, because I think campus safety should be expanded to every group on campus, especially because it is very applicable to all students. So maybe, consider sending it in like, actually, I don't know if we have access to like a mailing list, like for students, but maybe, yeah, like just sending it through like a mode of where all students can see it, not just campus groups.
Right, no, so, typically with statements, when they're voted on by the body, it will be posted, on all of our avenues, including social media. The reason for this clause is just so that we can send it to, these, key campus safety departments, those other departments such as like chancellor's or chancellor's office, all these key departments.
Yes, Nasser?
Thank you. I know this document was sent out earlier today for us to get feedback on. I did have, well, yeah, just a small piece of feedback. I noticed we did mention a lot of things for students to reach out to, for students to look out for on campus. But I was wondering if perhaps we could include something in the statement that gives students something tangible to look out for. For example, what our safety commission is working on, so they know that we're dedicated to, providing them a safe campus to be on. And, we will, as the undergraduate student government, take measures.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I did see your comment, on the letter. That's why, I want to have a discussion about this to see if there's anything missing from this letter. What we're voting on tonight is just, authorization to send this out to the MSU government, and to, of course, keep, campus safety department. But we can definitely change, the words here. We want to, include, a few lines, regarding the, USG Campus Safety Commission. Please do so. You can add on, the live document, and you can also add me as a chief sponsor of there.
Yes, Director Jair?
Yes.
I think we made letter, I just want to get together for their situation. That makes it clear that the other thing that about this position, for example, I think we can send out tweets like this, and not there right now. We have to mind to help us for the content that USC. And for research, sometimes in the case, USC stuff about. I don't really think these paragraphs should be considered for their experience right now. For example, like the third paragraph, students waiting for action, for change. I think we should really know this better. Like I said, I understand that on its own, it can be committed to a community. But I think it's not really addressing the variation that they had at hand. So continue to move that second paragraph, if we do send it to them. But like I said, it's a very sensitive and concerning issue that this is one. So I don't think that second paragraph really relates to it.
Secretary Danya and then Juana.
I do share that sentiment. I think that we should have two separate letters, one, to show, I guess, how much we're vocal on the issue to the UIC campus, and then in tandem, write a separate letter to, Michigan State. And I think the letter to Michigan State really needs to focus on, we are also a campus that really focuses on campus safety, and obviously what you have in the intro is great. But again, just like, we are another university of many in this country that are also, we don't want to be afflicted, and they have, and it's, I'm not the best at writing letters clearly, but, I do think that having two separate letters, and taking the comments from, our student government, and maybe even from other organizations too. I feel like we haven't even outreach to hear other people's concerns. I know that we have a campus safety commission, but yet I've yet to have a conversation with other student boards on how scared they must feel. Because this isn't just like one case happening. I mean, this is a national epidemic that is occurring. It is a very serious thing. And if we are going to be sending a letter, I think we do need to, be more meticulous with it, as well as showing our campus too, and also for the administration that this is a big deal. And, we're not, heaven forbid any of us have to deal with this too, but we don't want to be the next victims as well.
Representative Juana, would you still like to speak?
No, going to say, yeah, I definitely agree with that definitely, this is great for a device to conduct like students and faculty, but it's definitely not for others. Definitely.
Are there any questions or comments? Oh, Mona, speak. Sorry.
Yeah, I think this year, after we made the adjustments, kind of highlighting what we're actually doing, there's a kind of a safety commission, just a way for students that are issues, we should be doing something, because like the community, I think this would be a little bit better to send out to the USG community, but in communicating what the USG community and undergraduate student body wants to convey to Michigan State, I think we could maybe revise as everybody seems like reach out to some organizations and maybe take some time to kind of look into this letter a little bit more, and then maybe send it out after we decide.
Secretary Danya?
I don't know if this would be something, I don't know how, you said you finished the state of the student report.
It's on.
Okay, I'm just curious if this would be something that would be at least briefly addressed within talking about the Campus Safety Commission, that now this is going to be an additional thing we have to worry about on campus. I did appreciate that we brought in people from UIC police into here to give a demonstration, but if I'm being completely honest, I don't think that's nearly enough, because when a question was even brought up, can we use, can these resources be distributed to the faculty members? I mean, I'm not to be so brash, but he had the audacity to say your student government, you have money, when so much money is pulled into UIC police, and that's probably pennies to them. I mean, that was the cheapest stopper thing I saw. But anyways, my point is, sorry, my point is, I think this should be brought up in the state of the student report, because if it's addressing USG's strongest opinions that we are working towards, in regards to campus safety, I think it's notable to mention that we're giving out a statement to the UIC body as well as Michigan State.
Representative Huron?
Yeah, definitely. When I was reading the letter, something I was thinking of as well, in regard to like being able to different ways to introduce this idea of having students feel more safe. And I think a good way would be like just introducing the fact that, we're working on a commission, because I'm taking lead on this specific area when it comes to, school shooter awareness within the Campus Safety Commission. And, we're just starting when it comes to being able to, talk about, talking about ways to fix it, prevent this. We're talking about the idea that, was brought up by Jesse and grouping about being able to include modules, but like I said, it's not enough. So we're trying to, or I am trying to look into different ways where we can like cooperate with like different, organizations like UIC, just talk about mental health, improve these different things, and, that's why, I'm just hoping to keep inviting people to the commission, have these conversations, because it's very difficult in order to like have this done with, like, let's say, like you just said, have a presentation and forget about it, it's not something we can do with that. So we have to look more into depth about like how we can do that, and maybe like, I don't know, like pushing in a way where we can like introduce the commission and invite students, just like, I brought up earlier within the letter, and make students feel more safe knowing that we're trying to take the strict precaution when it comes to preventing something like happening in USC. I think that would be something very positive.
Yes, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you everyone for sharing your feedback on the letter. So I think from gathering here, members here would be okay with this message. It's not as a message sent out to the MSU undergraduate student government. And so my solution to this is that this could be a statement that we send out to the student body and throughout the UIC community. And what I could do is send a separate letter to MSU. I've already reached out to the president asking how things are going. But I can follow up on that and write an individual statement that in which it will not require a vote for the body, because this will be signed by the whole undergrad. The voting procedure.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding this resolution or statement? I have something. So since in the resolution, you do say that, as one of the let it be further resolves, that we shall send it to the MSU undergraduate student government, it might be good to make an amendment to remove that from the resolution, if that is your course of action.
Yeah, actually, I would like to amend, let it be further resolved that UIC undergraduate student government shall send attached letter to MSU undergraduate student government to be read as let it be further resolved that UIC undergraduate student government shall send share that attached letter throughout the UIC community and student body.
Sure, there's been a motion to amend resolution 2023 S5 2000 to say the undergraduate student government shall send the attached letter to the UIC community rather than that to the MSU undergraduate student government. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? Okay, if not, then the motion carries.
Yeah, any final feedback to the letter? Then I'd like to use an executive order to vote on this tonight.
There's been an executive order, so we will be voting on this resolution tonight. Are there any questions or comments with this in mind? Okay, if not, we will move forward with voting. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2023 S5 2000, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, then resolution 2023 S5 2000 is passed. We will now move on to the next order of business, which is items for discussion. Our first item for discussion is a representative check-in. So I just wanted to take this time to acknowledge that as we are in kind of a transitory period with new reps just being voted in, but we haven't had orientation yet. That it's a bit of an uncertain time. It's unfortunate with the way things pan out. Getting a room reservation does take a little bit of time. So as much as I would like to have orientation as soon as the new reps are voted in, we do have this period of uncertainty. And I want to reiterate that as Speaker of the House, it's my job to keep a finger on the pulse of how you representatives are feeling. So if you're feeling unsupported or unhappy with your experience at USG, I would hope that you feel comfortable enough to come speak to me about it, because that's what I'm here for. If you don't feel comfortable doing so, then I'm not doing my job correctly. So I also want to remind everyone that because this is a professional environment, there are no hard feelings, and that criticism to me or any of the e-board members or anyone in general is not taken personally, and we're all just trying to do the best work that we can here. If there's a problem, I need to know what the problem is so that we can take steps towards fixing the issue. And I would like to reiterate all this and encourage you all to reach out to me if you have any concerns. I'm here for you. And yeah, so I wanted to open or to provide a space for anyone to share any concerns that they've been having to the body, because I think we can have an honest conversation about this. And if not, we have other avenues via the one-on-one prep meetings and something else that Daniel will introduce.
Now? Or
Later.
no?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. All right.
So with that, I want to open the floor up to you guys. If you feel comfortable with sharing anything. Yes, Melody?
Hi. Okay. So I think that something I myself have noticed is that some of the issues I'm about to say aren't new. And I don't know why it's taken so long to necessarily go over that. But nonetheless, here we are. In the past, e-board members have taken up a lot of space vocally during the meetings, which may discourage newer reps from being able to feel like they can talk. It might discourage representatives from feeling like my opinion or my voice matters. So I think that somehow, some way there needs to be structural changes made to make representatives feel more comfortable vocalizing their thoughts and opinions.
Thank you.
I feel like,
Yes, Juan.
another thing is the lack of message that like I feel like people even who represented like different things like for the revolution or like helping them with like just things like that. And like even then like I've noticed in like their reports as well. I've seen that they haven't given credit to representatives that have, brought up that and I feel like, that you can encourage representatives to come up with the representatives and stuff.
Thank you. Brina?
I kind of want to piggyback off of that, regarding like reports sometimes, because as a new representative when I came in, I didn't really know what to expect, transparency wise, and as I've observed over the past like the past semester, up to now, I feel that sometimes, we kind of lost vision of what our goals of USG are in regards to what we're bringing to the table and not just directors, but what we're supposed to do in terms of what we're doing or updates we're supposed to be giving. So I think that's something that should be a point to think about, because as we move forward, we have a lot of resources. We have a pretty big body right now, and I think that like we should
try to keep in mind of what our true mission is, when we're coming up with initiatives, so that we don't really take up as much time in regards to, you know, vocalizing concerns or creating resolutions.
Melody?
To follow up with that, I think, or from based off of what I've observed, or heard, generally across the board in committees, it seems like it's kind of like an all or nothing mentality, when it comes to passing resolutions or pursuing initiatives. So either you have to do it all on your own, whereas like you're in a committee, you should be able to delegate, or like it doesn't get done. And I think it's unfair, especially for representatives who volunteer 3 hours of their time out of the week. In order, like, because we do care, but also like you can't expect one person to get all of the work done themselves. Like a lot of people do join any org for that community aspect, and it seems like it's kind of lacking.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I was wanting to say, I know that, as a new representative, I was really enjoying the safety having, and, I would feel like, if somebody from the organization, turns out like a new representative, the new representative, to see, always explain how things went down in the meeting, that would be kind of, because we can't always assume that people know, telling us do anything like that in the meeting. Maybe it's a benefit of some people, but, I guess that is kind of thing that people already know, so maybe for next semester, when if we get another representative, if we have like a list of background before orientation happens, this is because they could, get us new standards and stuff, what that orientation happens.
Thank you. Yes, Juana?
Yeah, and another thing to piggyback on the freedom that where is the right? I feel like also we shouldn't just have resolution to like to spend the money, right? We should, you know, write resolution with intention, with care, right? Because this is very USG, right? We are supposed to help students. That's why we're here. And I feel like passing, you know, resolutions, you know, although they might be great as well, but I feel like they should also be, you know, attacking the core of the issue. And not, you know, just like putting them in.
Sam?
Yeah, I think this is thing there. I do understand the incentive to spend an entire budget. You know, when you don't spend an entire budget, you don't get it the next year, or it will be the next year, and have a lot of things available. I think that, you know, we have kind of focused on money a lot more than like real action, and like you can spend a lot of money really easily. But it depends on what you're doing with it and really what the goal is behind it. I know that we got into financial trouble last year. I'm still really unclear on why we had to stop money from organizations. Only punch that I can go off of is that we spend a lot of money very quickly, aimlessly. Not aimlessly, but you know, with maybe not the proper amount of care. Again, I don't really know what's going on because that consent never really based in on what the discussion was behind the scenes in the student's office. But I really agree with that. I think we need to be more pointed and have better direction, especially when we have such a huge budget of tuition fees. That's something that we, you know, that is a great power to wield, having that much money, where even, you know, regardless of how we feel about how USG PD who spoke today, like talked about our budget, you know, the fact that other departments recognize that we have a substantial budget shows how much power that we do have within the university. But when we don't respect the power that we have and really build it with direction and coordination, it's easy to lose our power in something, it seems. And frankly, if we can't find good things to spend our budget on, maybe we don't. So.
Yes, Melody?
Offer a solution to that criticism. if student government could partner with any department, literally any department, in order to, I don't know, make a student government like forward-facing annual survey that gets a temperature check of how students are feeling. We have the funds and resources to incentivize some kind of raffle or whatever, like people do in general, in order to understand what students actually do want money to be spent on. So I think that that will be a long-term investment that could be worthwhile. In terms of, you know, making sure that we are truly serving the student population at large, the most efficient and effective way.
Mohammed?
Yeah, thank you. And I want to get back to Sam's comments from last year and the answer happened in the budget. I served, for just context sake, I served as treasurer last year for student government, and in my various officer reports, we talked about the information that we had on hand. Sam, to answer your question about why there wasn't so much communication, is because a lot of this processing of this information took the summer to resolve. What we found out is that the beginning of students never really had a backlog of information until they had to go and extrapolate that information from other departments later on after the year had ended. I know you were representative, you probably recall that it took place near the end of the year, as opposed to the middle or the beginning of the spring semester. And one thing I do want to point out is that throughout the course of that semester, there was plenty of opportunities for anyone to reach out, I know what the officer report and so forth. And in terms of us necessarily spending aimlessly, I do want to correct you on that. There was never in terms of spending aimlessly. And we did not actually spend all the budget that we had. What it actually comes down to is the way budgeting at universities work is that the budget that you receive, the budget that you receive get, isn't a lump sum. What happens is that they come in different intervals and in different quantities in between each intervals. That we didn't know. That DOS didn't even know at that time period. So when they told us that we actually ran out of budget, it was an incorrect assumption. And those are things that were handled over the summer. And those are things that Quinn was involved with. He was well aware as treasurer and he was prepared. And he can always answer any questions this year in terms of what's taking place. But I do want to make sure that the record is clear on that.
Nazar?
Whatever I can say, I know it is point at whatever I can say by Juana. I also should take things down to like a committee level and mention that a lot of our directors have been having meetings with leadership in the school for future initiatives, events, exciting things that should be happening for USG and for the committees. But the problem is, they haven't entirely been keeping the committees in the loop about what's been happening with regards to all these conversations. So given the fact that committees are the fundamental building blocks for all these events to go out, I do wish there was a little bit of mentorship and transparency with regards to that, so that, you know, committee members can work together on a collaborative effort, especially since it's committees that are pushing out the efforts for the students, instead of just individual representatives. You have to keep in mind that student government is a collaborative effort, and we're all here to be fair in the first place. So just want to put that out.
Thank you. I'm gonna give to Brina and sorry.
I'm sorry, I guess actually, honestly, yeah. I kind of want to talk about, a problem that I've been noticing with some of the events, specifically town halls that we've been having, more so with attendance, because I know that USG members are required to go to town hall, but the problem is sometimes for, rather important town halls, I feel as if the majority of the people there are USG members, and as a result, it's a bit of an echo chamber in a way. Just because it's like, I feel like we're having the same conversation with the members around us, even though it's supposed to benefit the student body. So I kind of wanted to offer a solution to this problem, actually, because I think that in my, previous clubs and organizations I've been involved with that had, piloted large events, they require not only the members to attend, but also to bring a +1 or even +2 sometimes. And I feel as if that may help our solution a bit because, even if they are people who are directly like related to us and building friendships or whatever, they are still outside members of USG, and I think that, or like outside, not members, but outside students or not in USG. And I feel as if that could help, the solution a bit and encourage other people who are in USG to participate in those events.
Thank you. Hannah?
Yeah, I also agree with that, like, even with town halls, I'm planning the town hall for public comment. So I was, and the reason why I wanted this town hall is because we don't have a public, right? We don't have public comment, and I feel like we should hear this issue, right? And, you know, a solution to this could be, you know, easily, you know, promoting it a lot more than, because I know we can't, but we're not, right? And I just feel that like students should be sitting there, right, listening to our concerns, listening to our resolutions. But if they're not hearing this, then like they're missing out on the fundamental things in UIC and right. So
Melody?
To follow up, I think I definitely agree with Lana in terms of doing better marketing for our events that we currently have. Like, because, you know, USG, like, to come out of CSI, like, all over. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be hard if, like, a weekend advance or any event we had, to ask if, like, CSI could like, repost something maybe twice throughout the week. Because I feel like CSI has a lot more followers than public. Like, I feel like we get more people from different backgrounds, in general. And then as a follow-up statement, I know something that I've talked with administration about as well. And this is like more of a larger systemic issue that I feel hopefully like the next administration at the USG in general, will hope to address is the lack of representation of Black students in the org. So I don't know if anyone knows, but at all three schools, there's a very big push on Black student recruitment and retention. And the problem that you get in terms of students not feeling like they want to choose any of the schools, and thus leading to a further depopulation crisis in our state, and thus leading to less representation in our government, is the fact, and thus leading to less funding for our schools. So just so y'all know why this is relevant. Is the fact that Black students here don't feel like they have a sense of belonging. Like I was literally talking to another Black student leader, and I was like, you would have been great in student government. She's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, why do you feel that way? And she's like, because Melody, like you're the only other Black woman that I know in student government right now. And I understand, like, you know, there might be a few more of us, but like at the same time, it's not enough to where students feel confident and feeling like they can belong in this diverse space, right? Like, I feel like I'm gonna go to a space regardless, and I don't really care what people have to say, but that's just how I was raised. But a lot of folks weren't, especially Black people, in terms of even like looking to create a better community, a welcoming community for them if they choose UIC in general. It's like, how is student government, you know, piloting, you know, what can we do in terms of helping them? So this is just, you know, something to think about. I don't expect there to be a solution like overnight, but I do know that it is a concern that is like starting to pop up, probably maybe a little even too late for administration, and I think it's a valid concern.
I do want to, I say that I recognize it's 11 minutes past our ending time. So at this time, I want to ask you all whether you would like to continue with the discussion that we're having, or if you would like to table the rest of the agenda. Is that a shared sentiment?
Yeah.
Okay, there's been a motion to table the rest of the agenda. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? I'll allow for announcements at the end. All those in favor, please say aye, sorry. All opposed, please say nay. Does anyone abstain? If not, we will resume this discussion next week. All right, Before we adjourn, are there any announcements? Yes, Strayer and then Danya.
Sorry, I know. Sorry, Lobby Day. Lobby Day is this Wednesday. So if you plan on attending, a few things to keep in mind is we do have a legislative report now. Wear USG merch or colors, so we can all be shown. We will have a final photo with everybody, so you might have some representation. Best dress business professional if you can, either at 6:30 a.m. Okay, 6:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, if you plan on attending. And if you are a math recipient who is coming, you feel comfortable sharing the ideas, please talk to Melody, she'll definitely be able to help you out with this narrative. So thank you.
And wear comfortable shoes.
Yes, we're comfortable shoes, there will be a lot of walking.
Danya, go ahead.
All right, I'm not gonna talk about. So, since we had a very nice open candid discussion, something I wanted to implement here from now on, after every meeting, I will be forwarding in the email chain an exit poll. I know there's a lot of voices that we didn't hear from, so it's just a little survey, it's completely anonymous, you don't have to even fill it out, it's completely optional, but it's just about if there were questions that you wish you had asked, or opinions or concerns, or if there's any confusions about USG in general or specific topics. But yeah, I think it was a shared, oh God, I keep saying sentiment. It was a shared sentiment that we all had that, there's, not a lot of comfortability being open and stuff like that. But as a kind of little mediating buffer, this could help, perhaps.
Yes, so Danya will be sending it out at the end of this GBM, and every GBM, please fill it out if you have something that you would like addressed that you weren't able to bring up, if you're displeased with something, how something was handled, or if there's anything that you would like us to know in general. Yes, Don.
Oh, one last thing. If there's something that's missing, if you feel like this is not a good form or there needs to be something added, just let me know. Like, this doesn't have to be like the final thing.
Matthew?
Yeah, so, following this discussion, of course, I, know that there will be continued discussion in the future. But, I just want, everyone here to know that, I think I can speak for every board member here that we do care about each and every one of you. And we want to see everyone succeed, in their initiatives. And we'll be looking at ways, better ways we can support, each and every one of you. Because, I know we hold titles here, usually represent the president, vice president, whichever. But yeah, I see you guys, as, your fellow students, some ways, I see you guys walk through my family. And, and maybe I'm not expressing this right now, so that I can't express that well, but, we will take the necessary actions to, make your experience, better. This is something we'll be talking about in our board meetings in the next few weeks, and how we can improve things internally, which will hopefully improve things externally, outreaching to the student. But with that said, we will work on this and improve things, and hopefully immediate changes can be seen once they're addressed. But yeah, thank you everyone, and yeah, have a great rest of the week.
Sorry, one last announcement. Sorry, Juana, go ahead.
Yeah, so as you said, keep us in the loop though, right? Call representatives what you are doing behind those doors. Like, say, hey, we discussed this and that, right? Because if you don't talk about it, we don't know, right? So keep us in the loop. I think what they're saying is that they would like to also be invited to legislate when they're discussing.
All right, thank you. And before we adjourn, I just want to make sure there are some important things on the reports, so please skim them. Since we didn't have enough time today, orientation is Thursday. Please come. And all right, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed?